Hello everyone, welcome back to another Tea Time with me, Amanda Prochaska. We are going to be talking about change impact analysis today and the foundational elements of what you should be analyzing when you're looking at your change impact. So let's go ahead and get this started. All right, change impact analysis. You'll hear that a lot in change management philosophies and strategies, and it's really underpins almost everything you do within your change strategy. So change impact analysis is basically taking all of the changes that you've identified from what's current state to future state, and then you start analyzing it into different buckets to understand how you need to be building that into your change strategy, your training, your communications, your engagements, and how you might even be able to mitigate some risks. So it's really important to get your change impact analysis correct. Before I go into how we analyze typically at Wonder Services those change impacts, let's talk a little bit about identifying change impacts and how you do that, because I know some people get caught up in this when they're thinking about how to do this because they get sucked into identifying everything that's going on in the current state first. So we don't usually recommend that. So what we do at Wonder is we get involved in the design sessions, and design sessions are really forward-looking. Typically, we don't recommend to our clients to do a deep dive on current state. And the reason why is because we don't want our clients to recreate what they have in current state. When you start a conversation in a transformation to say, okay, let's figure out what's going on today so we can use that for our requirements moving forward, you often recreate what you have today. So what we do instead is during the design sessions, we have conversations on major decisions around how is that different from today, or how is this new way of working going to benefit the organization. So maybe it's less conversation about how that's different, but it's how it benefits you. That's what is important during the impact analysis. So we spend a lot of time in design, then we take all of those change impacts and we analyze them at the end of design. So we go through and we say, okay, are these all correct, first of all? So we go back to each of the work stream leads and we talk about how we captured everything that you think is important in this change. Are we missing anything? Have we misrepresented anything? So we want to make sure that we're capturing everything first. And then that's when the change analysis starts. So let's talk a little bit about the completeness of your changes first. So at Wonder, and I think I've talked about this in previous videos, but at Wonder, we think about change in 8 different areas. So we call them the 8 change levers, and they're policy, people, organization, process, tech, master data. I'm counting on my fingers so I don't miss anything. Master data, data itself, or metrics, I should say, master data, metrics, and culture. So those are the 8. So if you think about those 8, when we gather all of the changes, we have categories for each of those 8. So if we take a step back when we're going through and asking ourselves, is this complete? And we're thinking about data, have we captured all of the data related changes for this implementation? Same with policy, same with culture. Culture gets overlooked so often, so you need to make sure as you're thinking through the cultural changes that you want to make that you're capturing all of those, because those will feed into the rest of the strategy. Okay, so start off with a very complete picture of those 8 and you're going to be much better off than most people. Okay. So now we have this beautiful list of changes in those 8 categories, but then what do you do from there? And that's the analysis part. So when we approach this with our clients, we're looking at, is it a low, medium, or high impact? So what's the magnitude of this impact? And sometimes we might have two, based off of client preference, we might have two different categories of that. Like, is it high, medium, or low impact, and how easy is it to implement? So there's some prioritization there. Most often it's just the one category of is it low, medium, or high impact. Sometimes we also have the difficulty to implement as part of it. So we have that first, so you can start kind of segmenting your data around the impact levels. Then what we do is we start looking at what areas of the organization is being impacted by that change. So when we think about our stakeholder analysis or our role mapping or our role-based training, we can think about, okay, so this area of the organization has been impacted, is going to be impacted by all of these changes. 5 of them are high, the rest are medium and low. But when we talk to this area of the organization, we need to make sure that those 5 high ones are really highlighted in everything that we do. Okay, so that's area of organization analysis is critically important to the success of your change impact. Then what we do is we start taking a look at each of those 8 areas that I mentioned before, and we leverage those 2 other things to understand, okay, so when it comes to policy changes, we have these high ones and they're impacting all of these areas of the organization. So if you have enough changes, then maybe you build those into your training instead of just focusing on tech training. Now you have tech training and policy training. So you can kind of see how this works. Now, you can go into all kinds of different areas when it comes to your change impact analysis, but really looking at it from a magnitude standpoint, from a completeness standpoint, and then also from an area of the organization standpoint, and you are going to be better off than most people leading change. If you can get that done, you're going to be able to critically think about all of the changes that are going to be impacting the organization and what you're going to do with it. Okay, other things to consider when doing your change impact analysis, and I love doing this when we're going through the analysis, is adding on key benefits to each of the changes. So we love to, in our trainings and our communications, to talk about why is this benefiting the organization. So I would take the time to really think about, okay, we're making this change, but how is it going to benefit us in the long run? And sometimes, I will tell you, we had a project just recently that the client was basically being forced to do because the technology was end of life, and it was such a specific area of technology. There was really only one other solution out there in the marketplace, and the users didn't like it. So that can happen, right? Where you're moving forward with something and you're like, well, there's just not a ton of benefit, but we have to do it. Then list where there is benefit, but then it also helps you identify where people might not feel that there's benefit, and you can start mitigating those risks. Okay, so that is an important activity to do as part of your change impact analysis. The other thing that I like to do is kind of flip side of that coin, is to talk about the problem you're solving with that change. So there are all kinds of philosophies of change out there, but some of them are based in being able to articulate a problem and then having a solve for that problem, so you can relate to the people that are being impacted by the change. So if you can, on your change impact analysis, identify the problem that you're solving and why are you solving that problem right now, right? Because you could have solved the problem 10 years ago. You could have also solved the problem 5 years from now. So being able to talk about that problem and why you're solving it now is really important. So then you have the 2 sides of the coin. You can talk about the benefits, but you can also relate to people if they're more focused on, I have pain today and I want it fixed, then you can use that as part of your change management approach. So with that said, that is a little bit of an overview of the change impact analysis. You can make sure that you are not focusing on the past, but focusing on the future, and being able to do that in a comprehensive way with those 8 change levers. Then you can start segmenting it by impact, high, medium, or low. You could also talk about work effort to get it implemented. You can look at that based off of your organization, your roles, your stakeholder analysis, your functional areas, depending on how you want to do that. And then at the end of the day, adding in the key benefits and the problem you're trying to solve and why you're trying to solve it now. And then you have a pretty complete picture of everything that you are going to want to cover in that change impact analysis. Okay, so that's it in a nutshell. Now remember, and I see this happening all the time, you do all of this work. What I was just mentioning in the last 10 minutes is a lot of work. Do not put it in a shared drive. Do not put it in Teams and just let it sit there. I literally walk into projects all the time. I'm like, okay, guys, where's your change impact analysis? And they're like, oh yeah, we did that. We did that at the beginning of the project, but we haven't really looked at it since then. That's a problem. So your change impact analysis, think about that as like the heartbeat of everything that you're doing, and it's a living document. You're going to find things along the way. So once you put it together, you're going to, all of a sudden, you're going to be in testing or build, and you're like, oh, just found another change. It needs to be kind of an interactive document, and it should be reflected in everything that you do. Your training, your communications, your engagements, your updates to your steerco could even be built into there. Like, how we have all of these different changes, and how are we making sure that people are adopting all of these changes? So please don't put it up on a shelf. It will be time wasted. It takes a lot of time to do this. So leverage it to make sure that your change strategy is really a solid one. With that said, I'm hoping that you enjoyed this video. I have such a passion for helping leaders lead change. I was doing that for the last 16 years of my life. In the last 5.5, I've been the Chief Wonder Officer at Wonder Services, helping leaders like you solve the problem of change adoption. So if you like this video, please hit the like button and subscribe for future Tea Times with me, Amanda Prochaska. Until next time.